Alright, let's look at ScrumLint in action. Here we are on the GitHub project page of the software that was developed by students of the 2014-2015 installment of our Software Engineering 2 course. And we see that ScrumLint has given each team, team A through E, scores on from 0 to 100, where 100 is optimal, on their adherence to agile practices. So suppose that we were a coach for team B. We could use ScrumLint to give detailed feedback to students. So in order to compare the team B that we're going to coach to other teams, in order to figure out what they possibly did worse or did better than other teams, we're going to have to compare them to the other teams. And we see here that team B did quite poorly on backlog maintenance. These are the different four different categories that are of metrics in the system right now. And we see that backlog maintenance was actually two teams got 100% or close to 100%. And our team, the red team, actually did more poorly here than all the other teams. So in order to figure out why this is the case, we have to go back to the overview for this team and scroll down, and what we see is the details of how the score was calculated. And we see that backlog maintenance, which was the problem that we just identified, is influenced by two metrics, and one of them got a score of 70. And this is a metric that measures the user stories that were in multiple sprint backlogs. And we see that there are a few ones that were in multiple sprints. And this is something that you want to avoid. Again, we don't know if this decline in scores is maybe a systematic problem with all the teams, or if this is something specific to this team. So we're going to compare the teams on this specific metric. And we can quite clearly see that, no, this is actually a problem that is specific to team B. They already had a problem with this in sprint 2, and this trend has continued, whereas other teams had perfect scores and there was no problem. So in order to figure out what was the root cause of this, what was the problem with this ticket, why was this hard to do, why did this have to be in multiple sprint? ScrumLint provides us with a link to the original artifact. Here the original artifact is on GitHub, and we can use this to ascertain the context of this violation of agile practices. And this is really important because it might be a false positive. It might be the fact that the team actually wants this to be done the way that it was, or it might give us some more details about what could be done better. And already we see in this user story that there are many comments, and apparently it was not clear what the user story was supposed to mean. And this is something that we could now take this information with this concrete information that issue 16 on user story 16 was a problem in the last sprint, and ask the team and consult the team on how to do this better.
Hello, my name is Thomas, and I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of the data rover tool which we use to create the Neo4j databases for Scrum. At the core of the tool are missions. Here you see my mission overview. I have one for parsing Rails data from Stack Overflow on GitHub, and a second one for parsing data from software engineering lecture offered at our institute. Let's have a closer look at this one. As you can see, I've already added an explorer for GitHub issues, so let's add one for GitHub commits as well. Simply add the project name and the project owner, save it, and now it's part of our mission. Each mission targets a specific database. In this case, a Neo4j database running at this URL and port. As we can see here, this database is currently empty. Now let's go back to our mission. We can now start the explorers one by one, or simply all at once. Background processes are now started, and each parser queries the API and fetches information about commits, or in this case issues, transforms them into a graph structure, and uploads them to the Neo4j database. If we go back to the database, we see that now we have nodes in it, and we could go into this data and see the connections, for example, for user to commits and issue events. So this is how the ground data for the analyses of ScrumLint is prepared.